Officials with the Kennebec County Sheriff's Office are seeking more information about a shooting in Farmingdale. Police say no one was hurt. Officials released video of the altercation. We do want to warn you that the video we are about to play may be disturbing to some viewers. Authorities say they were called to an apartment complex on Hassan Street just after 9:15 p.m. last Friday. Police say they were unable to locate any person of interest or vehicles when they arrived to the scene. Officials say they have not received a complaint from a possible victim at this time. Police add that they believe illegal activity is taking place at the residence. If you have any information regarding the incident, you are asked to call Detective Sergeant Scott Mills at 623-3614, extension 1014.